Question everything, trust nothing except your boy CryptoKeeper. And today you can trust Bill Noble. Well, on a daily basis, you can trust him too. Super excited about the stream today. Excited to dive into all things crypto. A lot of political stuff coming your way today. We're going to kind of break down what's happening in the crypto markets and what the political landscape looks like moving forward towards this election, and why some of this is going to be important for the dollar, going to be important for crypto as a whole. All of that good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Bill Noble. He's backstage, and then I'm going to say hi to the chat. Bill, how are you? Good, sir.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm doing good.
Good. Glad that you're here, brother. I was checking out Bill Noble's stream earlier today. If you guys, I know some of you in here already watched Bill, but if you're not checking him out, Bill, are you remind me your schedule again on the stream?
We're going to start a new time. We're going to go 11:30 Eastern. 3 days a week, and you know, in Patreon every day.
Okay. All right, cool. I've got his Patreon link down below the stream too, guys, if you want to check that out. He's got a lot of extras going on in there. I think it's like $15 a month, and bringing a lot of value your way. So if you guys want to check that out, I've got that pinned down, or not pinned. I've got that down below the information in the video. All right, let me jump in real quick and kick it off with checking in on the chat. See how everybody's doing. Your daily reminder from Patriot Caveman. Rate cuts in July. And who better to have on today when we're talking about that than Bill Noble? I think Bill Noble's been talking about some rate cuts in July. Hey, I'm looking for it. Let's see it. Also, don't kill your mic. Why is he saying that, Bill? Did your mic crap out on you last?
Last testing. Hello, can you hear me? I think I'm good.
It is working. Good morning, Enrique. I think Enrique has got a good joke for us down here. Hold on. He's been doing these dad jokes for us. Why did the unsuccessful farmer quit farming and become a DJ? It's because he had a ton of sick beats. This is a good one. These are good. Keep them coming, Enrique. I appreciate the humor. First thing, top of the stream. Clay the Great in the house. Good to see you, brother. Patriot Caveman, that conversation that we had in Telegram, I hope to God that you took my words of wisdom towards you about making the move that we were talking about, because we'll talk about it in a little bit, but Donald's pumped up quite a bit. It is moving and shaking, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. Also, Prophet Bear in the house. Prophet Bear, glad to see you here. Prophet Bear is part of the Jesus community. As many of you know, I'm part of that community as well. Prophet Bear, thank you again for the $100 super chat yesterday. I wanted to let you know I'm going to be putting the $100 super chat into, drum roll please, the Jesus token. So I appreciate that, brother. Thank you very much. Who else we got in the house? Dave P is here. Glad to see you. All right, cool. Let's dive in. Let's start off with the markets as always. See what's popping off. See how things are looking. Let me switch over to CoinGecko. I stopped using CoinMarketCap, dude. It just takes so long to load. I don't know what the hell's wrong with CoinMarketCap, but I just use CoinGecko now.
Yeah, that's super boomer, man.
It's yeah. I was using it for a long time, and I was like, man, this thing is never updating correctly. All right, so CoinGecko says the global crypto market cap, if I can zoom in here, boom, there we go, 2.219 trillion with a T dollars. Let me update this. See, I knew it. They tried to trick me. 2.251. We're up. It's green. The bull market is back. We're at 58,057. That 58K number, 59K, 60K that I've been talking about is going to continue to be important. We'll see which way that heads. Maybe push up towards 64K. We'll talk about that a little bit. ETH at 31.34. Always feels good to see ETH above 3K, even when the market feels super bearish. BNB at 532. Solana at $138. XRP, whew, man, the run's off. 50K, next stop. It's at 46 cents. We're almost there. Toncoin at $7.31. Obviously super bullish on the whole community over there. Let me check in on my mining. 16.7 cents. Caspa is not doing a ton, but hanging strong. And then this had a big pump yesterday or the day before, a couple days ago. VeChain up 14.2%. I've told the VeChain people that they need to make VeChain pump, because the VeChain vice lord here, Keeper, is looking kind of bad for the people that I told to get into VeChain. I never give financial advice, but VeChain has not done what I expected VeChain to do so far. Although, Bill, let me ask you this. We've talked about the market being just different, right? And a lot of it's probably because of the gambling that's happening in the meme coin space and whatnot. Do you feel like we're going to get a true altcoin cycle the way that we've seen them before, or do you think that we're going to have a different version of that?
I actually think altcoin season will be a lot less stupid.
Yeah.
Right. It'll be sector driven, right? Like the real world asset stuff is going to get marked up. You know, some of that stuff's going to be top 5. AI and crypto is a theme that has vanished. It's like no one even talks about it anymore.
Yeah.
And the only way to have AI work for the people is to have it be decentralized. Never mind this idea of certification of ownership. So it'll be like in equities, it'll be sector driven versus this wild 2021 liquidity tidal wave of buy something and watch it go and put a lampshade on your head. And we're not doing it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The AI thing, I can't call this out yet because I haven't closed the deal down, but I'm working with a large AI company that probably many of you would know who they are, trying to help them do some marketing stuff that I'm trying to close that deal down for them. And the thing that I love, without getting into who they are, the thing that I love is they've been so tech driven. They haven't done any sort of real deal marketing. And now they're like, okay, we need to figure out how to market this, because I feel like in the AI space, sometimes people can't really wrap their mind around all of the different wild ways that this creatively can be used. And so I think we need to just kind of push out to the people some of the simple ways that it can be used so it's digestible, because I do think that there's a lot of great that can come from it. I read something that said, I think it was JP Morgan said that they could, and I'm going to mess this up, and Bill, maybe you've heard this, but I think JP Morgan says, yes, we could migrate over all of our stuff to AI, but it would cost us, I'm going to throw it out there, I don't know if this is correct, but it would cost us
6 times as much.
Yeah, 6-7 times as much money to be able to do that than just keeping humans. My question then would become, okay, you spend 6 times as much on the front end, but how quickly do you end up recouping that? And is that something that they'll end up doing? Do you think that move will happen in the next couple of years, or do you think that they're going to continue to just employ people?
Well, sure. AI, like the internet back in 2000, will eventually create these efficiencies. In equities, they've got the AI trade priced for perfection, right? And in crypto, they don't have it priced at all.
Yeah.
So, in equities over in that universe, they're assuming AI can do things that it can't do yet. Yet.
Yeah.
Now, again, in crypto, the trade hasn't been done at all. Like at all. So we have a lot to price in over here. Plus, if the crypto projects can actually add value and do something, right? That would give us a leg up, particularly once eyeballs shift from the Magnificent Seven over to crypto.
Yep, which we're going to talk about today. I'm excited to get into that. Here's the crypto bubbles. A lot of mix going on here. Maker up 8.3%. That looks like the biggest move. Well, Bonk's down 8.7%, but it's a meme coin, so they just jump around all over the freaking place. Crypto bubbles looking just kind of scattered here. The market's trying to decide which way it's going, and that's just kind of been how things have been recently. I want to check out some technicals right quick. Bitcoin, obviously, y'all know me. I am the fixed volume profile indicator king. All right, no, I'm not, but it works well for me. Ultimately, we are ranging up towards, this has been a range that pulled back from the start of July. We're ranging back towards, let me pull my little brush here. There we go. If I extended this out, what in the hell was that? Did you... Do I have the magnet on? I do. I knew it. I was like, what is that? Ranging up towards possibly that value area high. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen what's been happening. I keep showing this every day. We come up, we come down to the value area low, we flirt around with the point of control, almost to the value area high. I mean, listen, I think this is super bullish for traders. I talked about this yesterday, and Bill, I know you like to trade. If you can see and interact with a pretty predictable range, it's good for trading, right? The crazy volatility can be awesome if you are a trader that's able to anticipate some of that. I think the thing where people get caught is, okay, so let's say we make this move up to this value area high. Where people get caught is they either anticipate the breakout there and they get smoked because it turns back around, or they sit on their hands and then the breakout happens so damn fast and it moves from 60 to 64K and then they end up doing something stupid like chasing. Would you agree?
Yeah. When you have a range bound markets, that's when traders make their living, right? Everyone's buying resistance and selling support. So guys who can define the range, you know, for a period of time, they wind up winners. Now, by the time the people who have been getting hosed go, oh, it's at the top of the range, I'm going to sell after losing 2 or 3 times, what happens? It breaks out. And then they go, well, I can't buy it because the last 3 times I bought it, I got hosed. And then we're at 80K.
And that's why, you know, a lot of times when we talk about, you know, trading, if it's not something that you're head and hands and you hear people say, you need 10,000 hours of trading or you need X, Y, and Z, you need to do all of these different things. One of the reasons that I've always been such a big proponent of the simple, boring idea of dollar cost averaging is because I don't care how good you are. There are exceptions to this rule. Crypto Face would be probably an exception. I know Magic Internet Money is probably an exception. There's some people out there that just genuinely, you know, they just are traders. But for the majority of people, we don't have any freaking idea when we're analyzing these. We can look at some indicators. We can look at the prime oscillators on ChartPrime. We can look at market cipher. We can look at RSI. We can look at MACD. We can look at all the volume profiles, and we can get a good indication of where things are headed. But the reality is, like I've been saying, now that the big money is here, I talked about on a TikTok that's been doing really, really well the last couple of days, how they are playing games to mess with USDT. Right, taking market share from USDT over to USDC. They're using that via Germany and the Bitcoin that Germany is dumping, which they've made this huge deal. But I'm like, I don't know about you, Bill, but I feel like when you really look at the overall market structure combined with the amount of money that they've dumped, like who gives a shit? Am I off on that? I feel like it's just not a big deal. It's something they just want to point at.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be laughing at yourself about, oh my God, I'm so afraid of all this Bitcoin selling. Really? 6 months ago, I got 750,000 views on 2 different platforms on a short that says there is no more Bitcoin. Totally.
That's what you titled. That's what you titled it.
Right. That was the name of it. The title was "There is no more Bitcoin." 500 on TikTok, 250 on YouTube. Bitcoin's gone. It's never coming back. And now it's like, oh my God, they're selling at the bottom of a move. Oh well, please. You know, BlackRock's like, oh, you know. Let's take all of that, all of it.
Oh yeah.
Right? So, and on top of that, it's made everyone bearish. It's like messed with everyone's head, which again makes people hesitate. And that's what can drive an up move. In other words, if you don't get ETH at 2,500, which people assume they will, if that doesn't happen, right, people are going to be, they miss it. And they're going to be like, oh, I can't pay 3,800. And then guess what?
Yep, exactly. And I've got so many friends that I've talked about this before too, where they'll blame crypto. And the reality is there's if you look at the opportunity that they had in their hands, it wasn't crypto that screwed them out of their money. It was their own emotions and their own, either they put too much in that they just couldn't afford to sit there and let, just cook, right? The young kids now say, let them cook, right? You got to let these cook. And so many people either put too much money in on the front end, or they actually listen to the news. I keep preaching this, but like, guys, especially in crypto, now it happens all over the place, but especially in crypto, you need to remember half of these freaking articles are paid for. So I've said this before, like I could jump on and write the most bullish article or pay them to write the most bullish article on Donald, on planet Earth. And that doesn't make it true, right? Now, I am super bullish on it. It's not the point. I'm just saying they pay for this stuff. And so when you hear, reputable names continuing to, it's like when you watch the news and they're talking about political things and you listen to newscaster after newscaster after newscaster saying word for damn word. Have you ever seen those videos, Bill, where they like clip together, boom, 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 like multiple different newscasters, and it's the exact same blurb? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, that's not a coincidence. It's being pushed down from their cronies at BlackRock who own the media institutions. Well, guess what? Remember, BlackRock does own all these media institutions. This is the media stuff that is getting pushed out to you. And guess what? Like I told you, BlackRock is in and playing this game, and they want to scoop up as much as they can as low a price as possible. They also want to use you on the other side for exit liquidity. And so they're going to play, these are the games I'm talking about, and they'll use the news to do it. So just tread cautiously, people. I want everybody to win here. Sometimes the answer is either sit on your hands or dollar cost average. And I know both of those are boring. I know both of those can be boring, but the reality is it can be super beneficial in the long term if that's, if you're able to do it. ETH getting that tapping right now, actually. As I flip over to ETH, if I, extended some sort of straight line here, guess what? We're right at the value area high since the start of July as well. So I'm definitely taking a look at that. We've got the prime oscillators not quite curving over here, but starting to look like it might top out there. So I'm going to be paying attention to ETH. Hopefully we can see a breakout instead of a rejection from this value area high. We'll see what's going on there. Caspa doing Caspa things, just pretty much range bound. I showed you this. I showed you this range. This range actually, if we scoot back, if we zoom out a little bit more, besides this big area right here, we've been in this range for a while. And then obviously we had lower price action, but that's way back in on the chart. I'm looking for Caspa to make a big move before too long, and then checking in on Ton real quick. Ton, this is the
you're not sharing screen.
Oh shit! Am I literally?
I do it all the time. Ask Patriot Caveman.
I literally am sitting here circling, drawing, trying to be all technical and stuff. Hold on, let me go back. This is what I was talking about with Caspa. This was the big move up that we had over just a few days. And then, obviously all of this price action here was all basically in the same range. And then Toncoin, obviously, this is built probably one of, let me zoom out to the daily here. This chart right here, I swear, is one of them. It's almost like it was like a painted, chart. It's almost like a meme coin that somebody, painted. This thing just absolutely just continues to make higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher highs. This thing has been freaking epic. And I don't think that's going to stop. I see Toncoin being a top 5 token. Are you suspicious that may happen, Bill?
Okay, when it comes to the big man, I think that anything associated with him will have collectible value, right? In other words, I have this token. The token will be almost like an NFT.
Hold on, to be clear, I wasn't saying Tonald's going to be a top 5 coin. That would be life changing. But I mean, just Ton itself, not Tonald, which would be sweet. But yeah.
Right. Okay. So Toncoin is probably where you're going to have, we talked about this, you talked about it with somebody else. It's the logical place for the next alt season because just not a lot of people know how to get on it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have some sort of speculative wave that catches everybody off guard, it's probably going to be over there.
Yeah. And as it, it's getting too big to ignore. And I've been reminding people of this. The moment that this thing hits Coinbase, I'm telling you guys right now, this thing is going to be nuts because the majority of people either don't know how to bridge, they're too scared to actively do it, or they won't use a VPN to jump on to MEXC or one of the other platforms that they need to buy it on. So it hinders people from getting in on these projects, which I always check in on Tonald. Guys, this is at almost 5 mil again, which is great. Making a nice big move to the upside here. We're at $4.748 million currently. And what Bill was starting to talk about, and I'll let him finish now that I've got this pulled up, was you said that the big man will have speculative value and continue with what you're saying?
Well, he'll have speculative value and collectible value, right? In other words, people who own these tokens may want to keep them long term. Yeah. Everybody was like, oh, well, I'm going to sell before the election. Well, they kind of did that already. I'm looking at Tonald on my screen. It's coming back above the 62% retracement. It's kind of a classic formation. The big Trump token on ETH did the same thing. Mm-hmm. And the other idea is that, if you see the size of the rallies that he inspires, and
he's about to speak at the Bitcoin conference.
I know some of these Trump tokens could become money.
Yeah.
Certain states, certain places, rather than have, Texas coin, they may have Trump coin,
right,
as accepted, medium of exchange, just like a silver dollar, or a gold coin can have somebody's face on it and be like, yeah, I want that. Yeah. I'll take that as money. So, don't discount the sort of the cult of personality and how that could spill over into money.
Yeah, I mean, we live in an attention economy. Now we're living in a digital money economy, or we're moving over towards that. I think we're already there, but obviously that landscape is changing with blockchain. And don't forget, people, the really important idea that Bill's is talking about without saying it is that I say this all the time: value is what two or more people agree upon. You get enough people surrounding the idea of effectively probably one of the most famous men on earth, and there's an opportunity. It's the opportunity, right? It's like, hey, I want to at least have the opportunity. I was talking to Forrest this morning, and I think he bought, like, I don't even know what percent of supply, but a small, like a chunk of the what's the OG token on ETH? That's the Trump token. Is it just like Trump on the? I forget what it is.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
MAGA or Trump
the symbol is Trump.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that thing, and bought it well over a year ago, and that thing has gone absolutely, you know what, right? And the idea behind, and here's my thought process: 90 days prior to, which is about, I think, 20 days from now, something like that. We've got about 110 days or something like that until the election, and I think 90 days out, moving forward, is going to be towards the election, is going to be super, super bullish for Politify. And people need to pay attention, because we do have a lot of political uncertainty. And so you have all of these crypto people. Big Man, as you're calling him, is about to speak at the Bitcoin conference. Side note, guys, I've got it pinned in the chat. If you guys want to go and meet me at Nashville, at Bitcoin Nashville, I will be there. I'm going to be there for a majority of the week. So make sure to check that out. If you guys want to get a discount, you can use my link there. I'd appreciate that. And yeah, you're right. It's not just the collectability. It's that the attention economy that we live in, surrounding the most famous man possibly on planet Earth, that's also highly polarizing. Why would you not at least want to have some sort of, I mean, I'm looking at Politify opportunities, not just with my own team. I'm looking at them all over the place. Is there anything that you've been looking at, Bill, in the Politify space that you've been kind of paying attention to, or no?
You know what? I'm focused on your coin and the Trump coin.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I was a big RFK J guy in terms of what I thought the token could do.
Mm-hmm.
But, the Democratic Party is not interested in him. Mm-hmm. And it's also become obvious that, if you're not on the left and you don't support the big man, you could be making a mistake. Mm. So, and I think with the correction that's occurred, I had resistance at 16 in the main Trump token, the one on ETH, I should say.
Yeah.
And, that lost, I don't know, that lost more than half of its value, way more. Mm. Right. Yeah. So it's got, in some ways, they've washed it out so hard that, the focus in Politify is how hard they wash it out. Like you told me before the show, Tunnel did 2 million. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They make these big moves, and it gets scary to people. But the reality is, why did you get in the first place? Right. Let's not even just say Tunnel. Let's talk about any of Politify. Why did you get in the first place? You got in because a narrative surrounding, we had just had a Bitcoin halving. We have a bull. We're in the middle of a bull run. Whether you think that's actually kicked off or not, that's up for some sort of argument, I guess, because people have been thought that we were going to have a run exactly like the last one, which never truly happens. The presidential election coming up, all the Ethereum ETF. I mean, this is a setup for success in crypto overall. And then I think the cherry on top is, hey, you know what? I want to have some opportunity to capitalize on this election and the crypto, the crypto bullish narrative. So that's why I love the whole Politify space so much. And then obviously many people know on here that I like to talk politics anyway. So just kind of, nice with that too. Caffeinated Crypto in the house. Caffeinated, good to see you. Glad that you are here. Real quick, let me check in on one more token real quick. I've been checking in on these guys every day. Let's check in on my homie Jesus. Let's see how he's doing. Well, Jesus himself is doing great, as always. But the market cap's about 12.56 million. Actually, that did make a little bit of a move. What do I got this on? I've got this on the 15-minute. Yeah, so we had a little bit of a move. Let me flip this over to the daily real quick and see if we're up from yesterday. I don't remember exactly what it was yesterday. Yeah, it looks like we had a very small move. The thing that I love about this, and I keep telling you guys, besides the community, You can't. So first of all, the community in these tokens is everything. You got a community here that's literally trying to do something that's, you know, coincides with my personal faith, which is fantastic. Giving towards people, helping other people. I think all of that's great. On top of that, you look at the crypto side of things. Tell me, Bill, do you know, I'm just curious, do you know of any other meme token that has a $12.54 million market cap and almost $2 million of locked liquidity? Because I don't.
No, I don't. And, you know, if you think about this token, he could be arguably the most famous person who ever lived.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And in terms of the attention economy, you know, could you imagine something weird happening one day that actually drove people to church or drove people back to say, oh, God, help me? Can you imagine if that ever happened, what would happen to this?
Oh yeah. I know exactly what you're suggesting there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, it's sad, the state of affairs. My uncle, not to get off topic, we'll dive into the crypto stuff in just a second, but my uncle wrote a book. He was a history teacher for 35 years. He just put this book out. It's called Oh Posterity, What Have You Done? Actually, I need to get it over to you, Bill. It is a fantastic book, and it's fiction, but effectively it's this guy that it starts with the January 6th stuff. And it's this guy that it has, I think, and I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I've been reading it. It's been great so far. He effectively has the opportunity to time. I think he time travels. I have not got this far yet, but I think he has the opportunity and gets to time travel, and he gets to interview the founding fathers and let them know what's going on in our world today and get their views on where things were versus where things, and it's this whole thing of, basically, you always hear people say like, oh my gosh, if the founding fathers saw where we were at today, they'd roll over in their graves. And the whole idea behind the book is what that actually looks like. And I'm super excited to read it. I have no idea where I was going with that point. I had a really good point that I was going to make there. I lost my way. All of that just to say, yeah, I think that all of the things that are happening in our world today. Oh, I was talking about the Jesus token. All of the things happening in our world today that are so anti-Jesus, that are so anti the things that the Bible stands for, etc. Yeah, you know, at some point, I think people do run into instances where, you know, maybe they believe one way or another, but they get their back put up against the wall, and then it's like, I don't have the answer for this. I'm hoping that somebody does, right? So yeah, I'm bullish on that entire ecosystem. All right, cool. Let's get into a couple articles there. Billiam, aka Mr. Noble, Mr. Crypto Noble. I want to talk about Partior to start. I think, am I saying that right? Is it Partior?
I think so.
Partior.
We'll go with it.
Whatever. Blockchain payment network Partior, backed by JP Morgan and DBS, raises $60 million Series B. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm talking about this. I'm going to get into that in just a second. This investment was led by Peak XV15 partners with contributions from Valor Capital Group and Jump Trading Group. The joint ventures group, Partior, between DBS, JP Morgan, and Standard Chartered, aimed at establishing unified blockchain-based interbank payment rails for instant clearing and settlement. Using blockchain-based technology to expedite such banking processes is now fairly commonplace. They are a blockchain payment network backed by banking agents, JP Morgan, DBS, and Standard Chartered. They've raised $60 million in a Series B funding. The investment was led, like I just said, where is it at? The Partior is a joint venture between all of them and is establishing. Why did it just give me that twice? The new capital will be used to expand Partior's capabilities in intraday foreign exchange swaps and cross-currency purchases. Okay, let me pause right there. What does that sound like to you, Bill? What token does everybody freaking say does exactly what I just said?
Well, I don't know. I want to say like Ondo, Ohm, and Dusk do similar things.
Oh, I was going to say XRP. Everybody talks about cross-border payments with XRP.
Okay, let's go with it, right? I mean, all of Wall Street has to get on chain. For no other reason to not be embarrassed by BlackRock. So if they can create efficiencies by getting on chain, that's essentially what they're doing now with their currency trading. They're jumping on chain. Everybody's going to have to be on chain. And then I think these networks are going to try to compete like Wall Street and say, okay, well, be on our private chain. But there are going to be public chains on ETH too.
Yep.
You know, and don't underestimate the need for speed, which is near, Polkadot, and XRP.
That's a really good point. And that's actually leads me perfectly into kind of what I was getting at. So let's talk about the benefits and the drawbacks here for the crypto space in this regard, right? So you talk, everybody, let's just use XRP as the example. That's been the one, cross-border payments, and I've always, I hold a bunch of XRP. I want it to do well, whatever. Not so damn bullish on what it's actually going to end up doing. But let me just start with, why I've always asked this. Why would they want to use somebody other than like their homies, like their cronies, right? So I'm not positive that they won't do exactly what Bill just said, like use their, have their own private rails where they're like, hey, use us. But let's talk about benefits and drawbacks. So benefits, right? Efficiency and speed. If they're doing real-time 24/7 cross-border transactions, DYOR that could significantly enhance the efficiency and the speed of the payment rails, right? Okay, good. Reduced risks. I've got this written down here. The atomic settlement feature ensures that both legs of a transaction succeed or fail simultaneously, reducing settlement risks, because there's always that settlement risk. That's important. Then interoperability. Their platform could foster greater integration between traditional banking and digital currencies, potentially easing the adoption of blockchain technology. Okay, that's all good. Here's the drawbacks, though, as I see it anyway. Centralization concerns, right? They're using blockchain, but if they're controlled by a major institution like JP Morgan, that's obviously going to fire off concerns for people about centralization within the crypto community, right? That's the that literally goes directly against the values of decentralization. We've got regulatory hurdles that we got to go through, right? That we need some regulatory approval and involvement of the central banks, but that might slow down. Let's talk about, I don't know, implementation, innovation. You know what I mean? Like we have this fast-paced nature in the crypto space, but not so fast to get these regulatory hurdles, jumps, the hoops that we got to jump through. And then here's one of the big ones, I think, as well. If you could get past the first two, it's the competition with DeFi, right? So as a network with them that's primarily like for institutional use, they're going to be competing with DeFi platforms, which could limit the growth and adoption of truly DeFi services. Because I think, Bill, then tell me what you think. I think that the DeFi platforms are too damn hard to use right now. Right? Like, I think that they're just difficult. If you're not head and hands into the crypto space and you've tried to operate and utilize some of the DeFi space, I don't know if you've dove into that very much, but it's tough, dude. Like, it's very hard to understand. It's hard to digest. It's hard to actually understand, what am I actually doing here? What are the actual risks involved, et cetera? Am I wrong in that? Am I just a dummy? Or is it, it feels complicated to me. And I could see people saying, well, let me just go ahead and use the bank because they'll just do it for me. And it's good.
Okay. Well, that is the value proposition that Wall Street's going to try to bring, right? In other words, they're going to go out and deal in the DeFi ecosystem and then try to pull those rewards or those yields back, into their ecosystem and then distribute that to the customers. Right.
Yeah.
In other words, that's the way capital markets actually work, right? I mean, you don't go directly to the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ to do a trade. You go through a bank. So I know we all don't want to go through banks. I get it. But when it comes to participation in this ecosystem, banks may have to offer an alternative to themselves. And why? Because BlackRock's going to go around them anyway. Right?
That's a good point.
Regulatory approval. Yeah, here's regulatory approval. Hi, Gary. Yeah, it's Larry. Yeah, we need to do that. Okay, yep. Done. All right, thank you. That's it.
Yeah. It's all about that network and all, obviously, the money that they control, which is half the damn world. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that. They're going to go right around them anyway. They're going to say, this is how we're doing this. That phone call happens, and then boom, it gets put into play.
Hi.
Whoa, ho, 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 ho.
Are you there?
I got scared there for a second. I was finishing saying that, yes, I agree with you, Bill. I think that is absolutely what happens, whether people want to believe it or not. Let me just say real quick, guys, smash the likes if you could, please. Make sure you're following Bill. I've got his links down below. If you guys want some extra juice, make sure to jump into his Patreon as well. I've got that link down below. All right, so check it out. You just started to talk about the bank. So the banking system versus DeFi, and how obviously all of that plays out. Who's going to want to use what? BlackRock just makes a phone call, whatever. One of the things that we've been seeing, obviously, is like all of the stuff surrounding as we kind of shift over into the politics side of things, because BlackRock is heavily tied into politics, is going to be, all right, who's actually making who's calling the shots here, right? And I'm sure you guys have seen lately that all of a sudden, and it's happened very fast. All of a sudden, after the debate, there's actually like liberals and people from the left and all that, like calling for Joe Biden to step down. Before I touch this article real quick, do you think there was a game plan all along for this bill? Because it feels like it. It feels a little bit odd to me.
Well, yeah, it's definitely odd. I think the end game is Newsom from California. That's who the party has always wanted. He would be like Trudeau's evil cousin. Oh. So that's who they actually want. And then I think part of what's happening is they're just feeding you so much cringe. Like, they feed you the fact that the guy's not well every day. Yeah. And then they feed you word salad video from the vice president. To make you beg for what they want to give you, which is, the American Trudeau. So that's the game. I've also heard a theory, which, they can't pull Biden out of there because what happened to him could be a vaccine side effect.
Oh, I haven't heard that one. That's a good one.
Jordan Peterson is out there saying that, 1 minute he was fine and the next minute he wasn't. Okay. So whether that's the case or not, this ends or this shifts when the capital markets make them shift. When they wake up and go, hey, the dollar's down 3 days in a row. Could it be because we're ungovernable? Yeah. And then Powell makes a phone call and then things change. Right. In the meantime, they're just testing what we can tolerate. Like how long can they provide us with fabrications that everything is okay? How long will we actually believe that? It's like an Animal Farm experiment.
Yes. And they've been feeding it. And now all of a sudden it just flip the script. And now all of a sudden everybody's questioning. And everybody's actually asking some real questions at the press conferences. I saw some people push back on him that would never push back on him before. It just feels like all part of a game plan. And so if you guys pay any attention to this, so have you guys seen if anybody hasn't seen Polymarket, you can basically bet, you can gamble on who's going to be the president, right? This says Biden overtakes VP Harris as the likeliest Dem nominee on Polymarket during the president's press conference. The president said he plans to stay in the race, but it's important that allay fears. Joe Biden's odds of being Democratic nominee for president overtook those of Vice President Kamala Harris following his first press conference in months. According to traders' crypto-based prediction market platform Polymarket, traders at one point gave him a 51% chance of being the nominee, way up from 33% earlier in the day, according to the contract on Polymarket. The odds were recently back down to 45%. Meanwhile, Harris's probability of getting the nod dipped as low as 37%. The former president and likely Republican nominee Donald Trump remains the favorite to win the White House. Yes, shares in Polymarket's contract for Trump recently traded 61 cents and will pay out $1 per share in USDC, a stablecoin. Obviously, you know what USDC is. If he wins, and zilch if not, meaning the market gives him a 61% odds of victory. I got to tell you, besides all of the people that we've let into the country, I don't really know who can possibly just can make the vote in the other direction. I don't know that it makes any sense. So what are the implications of that? So you got positive and negative. We're always talking about crypto in one way or another, right? So when you have political uncertainty, that leads to what? Higher volatility, which can be good if you are a trader that knows how to capitalize on it, right? So that could be a positive. Also, when you have policy shifts, a new candidate or different administration can bring more favorable regulations for crypto, which could boost the market, which obviously we're hoping for in all regards, right? Negative side of it is uncertainty. The instability can lead to market uncertainty. And then people are like, well, what the heck? I don't know. I don't have confidence, no investor confidence. And then the regulatory stuff that we're always talking about, right? The potential for new regulations introduce risks, right? Depending on the stance of what the candidates or the administration, how they actually stand on crypto. I think that it's very straightforward, and it's been put to us very, I mean, it's clear as day. It's going to be bullish for the crypto space as a whole if we get a change over to the big man versus where we're at right now. Because as I'm about to pull up right here, the House, like, he's trying to do a lot to mess with crypto, right? It says the House fails to overturn the Biden veto on the pro crypto banking bill. The House vote over the SEC crypto rule SAB 121 fell much the same as it did in May, despite growing political momentum around crypto. I talked about this yesterday. Bill, have you looked into this SAB 121 bill? Have you looked at this?
I've looked at the politics of it, right? In other words, the legislatures all went for it because they knew Biden was going to veto it. Now they're trying to like posture themselves as pro crypto because of how much attention Trump got on it. You know, that's going to eventually wind up passing in any new administration. I think the biggest driver of banks wanting crypto will be when something happens with the dollar, right? I think I saw a statistic that said one day last week, we doled out $140 billion in interest on the debt. That's one day. Okay. So this, along with the need for lower rates and like a cratering consumer, right, builds a case for a lower dollar, regardless of who the president is. Yeah. Right. And the more nonsense we have to put up with in the short term, and then, you know, heaven forbid the election is actually competitive. Like right now, it's assumed it won't be. But if they replace him with somebody marketable, it could be competitive, creating fears of not only lower rates, of creating consumer, but frankly, social disorder. I mean, Ray Dalio put a piece out twice. Yeah. So, you know, this, I think, affects the dollar, which is why at the end of the day, that bill and the politics eventually winds up benefiting crypto because it's going to result in a lower dollar in a disorderly or orderly way. Either way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because ultimately in the bill, it's basically saying whether they can or can't, you know, limit the bank's ability to hold crypto. Right. And I think the banks obviously are realizing, hey, crypto is not going away. We need to be able to figure out capitalizing on this. And I don't know if they'd go so far as to say as a hedge or just an opportunity for them to make more money. I don't know what that looks like, but there's good and bad to that too. Right. So like the good would be that it would like encourage, I guess, further negotiations between the banks and the regulators. Right. Just kind of make it a more balanced approach, but it also limits options for consumers to have bank-held crypto assets, which could stall that broader adoption. I do think that there's a lot of people that are scared of crypto that would do it if they could hold it through their bank. Don't you agree? I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that get introduced to this and they get scared because it's blockchain. They don't understand it. It's this new thing. They've heard all these crazy stories and da 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 da. But if they walked into their bank, if they walked into Chase and Chase said, "Hey, well, you know, are you here to deposit cash, Bitcoin, Ethereum?" You know what I mean? Like whatever. If that started to be a normal conversation, especially with the older generation, I think that would definitely encourage people to be like, okay, most people, I guess, I don't know if I should say it that way, but a lot of people trust their bank. And most people that aren't, you know, head and hands in crypto like we are, trust their banks in a way that they're not going to trust themselves to self-custody or, you know, some of the other things. And so I think that'll help with broader adoption. Is there a concern for you, Bill, if let's say this does, so he vetoed it, let's say it turns back around and it ends up being boom. Okay. Banks can hold crypto on their balance sheets or however they actually, you know, state that. Can you see a bad coming from that?
Okay, well, there's always a bad with Wall Street once derivatives become involved. So if you have an asset that's volatile that you hold, and then the bank starts playing around with derivatives, you know, that's where things have gone wrong, you know, historically. Now
you're saying the bank playing with derivatives on effectively your behalf on what they're holding and doing what banks do, which is effectively trade and loan out your money and do all of that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. Yeah. In other words, they're going to have these assets on their balance sheet, so they may hedge them, trade them. You know, there's always room for trouble. Now, the good news about banks getting involved in crypto, especially if it's treated as another form of money, is that you might actually have a yield curve or an interest rate.
It actually earned something.
Right. In other words, like, if El Salvador and MicroStrategy issued 1, 2, and 5-year bonds denominated in Bitcoin, Bitcoin would have a yield curve.
Yes.
I mean, that's how you have a yield curve now. U.S. Treasury issues bonds at different maturities, and the market decides, with some guidance from the Fed, what the interest rate is. Okay, well, we don't need a Fed in crypto. Just issue the bonds and let the market look in DeFi. Yeah, let the market do it. So, if banks were involved, even though that's the banks, you might actually get a yield curve, because you want to get a bunch of boomers interested in Bitcoin. You say, hey, I got a Bitcoin CD that pays 6%, and you might get appreciation on the currency. Then some boomer at Ameritrade or Schwab goes, oh, wow, 6%. I'm in. What button do I push?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. And so I feel like with them continuing to press back on it, it just slows down the whole process of just making the adoption continue to happen. So it definitely frustrates me a little bit. Also, speaking about, the things happening in the regulatory arena, have you heard about this stuff over at Coinbase, where this judge was surprised by the Coinbase subpoena request targeting the SEC chair, Gary Gensler, but not in a good way. As the crypto exchange fights an SEC lawsuit, the federal regulator says Coinbase's demands are an overreach. There's the lizard man himself. The ongoing battle between Coinbase and the SEC focused squarely on the rights of Chairman Gary Gensler in the federal court on Thursday. Coinbase's lawyers served Gensler with a subpoena last month seeking extensive information that touches on digital assets and the registration of crypto exchanges. The company's move came after the judge let the SEC's case against Coinbase proceed on most charges. In response, the SEC called upon U.S. District Judge Catherine Polk to hold an informal conference and quash the improper subpoena, arguing the subpoena seeks nothing of relevance. SEC counsel also wrote that it would create an undue burden on the agency. Okay, to me, when I read this on its face, this feels like, oh shit, we got to protect our boy here.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. I don't think the private sector is going to get very far in saying, yeah, we would like a government enforcement agency to turn over their emails.
Open up your email.
Just because, right? Unless they're looking for something like the Watergate break-in.
Yeah.
You can't just say, oh yeah, we'd like all the SEC's email.
Yeah.
Actually, it feels like frankly, it feels like a publicity stunt to get a headline, right? To make it look like, Gensler's hiding something.
You think they knew that there's not a chance they're going to let us do this, but the attorneys are playing the games that attorney play and said, hey, let's get some attention on this, and we're going to ask for something wild.
Yeah, because ultimately they're going to want to win the war in the media of asking the question, who is Gensler taking his orders from?
Yeah.
Like, Gensler didn't just wake up one day and say, let me go on the warpath for 4 years.
Yeah.
RFKJ talks about regulatory capture, where the food companies own the food regulators and so on down the line. Right. Well, it would make sense that, the banks or whoever, either on the Fed Treasury side or on the bank side, just calls up Gensler and says, sir, here are your marching orders. That's what Coinbase wants.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want Gary's dinner reservation emails. They want to know who's giving them his orders.
Yeah. They want to know, where is this coming from? I mean, I will say it shows Coinbase's commitment to challenging the regulatory overreach. It definitely shows that they're trying to step up and say, listen, we're tired of your trash. We're going to push back a little bit. And then obviously it would help with transparency and stuff that could, help us with some regulatory clarity or whatever. But also on the other side, it could backfire, I feel like, and it could lead to, stricter regulations and oversight from the SEC if this goes, if this were to go in the complete other direction. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think that Gary Gensler is on his last leg. If you ask me, I don't think he's going to be around for that much longer. There's just too much going on surrounding him, and I don't know how he's been able to hang on this long. The reality is, how can people not see that somebody that was an MIT professor in blockchain, or is it? Okay, so let me ask you this before we jump on to this last thing, and I want to talk about this market turning back around. Do you think that the people that do believe in Gary Gensler, do you think that it's because he was an MIT professor in blockchain and saying, hey, If he says that this is a danger and this is a danger and this is a danger, he knows the space. So we're going to believe that. Or because the other side of it is like, hey, this guy knows all the positive implications that come from the blockchain space in crypto and what it can do. How can he possibly say half of the things that he says, smashing it to begin with? What side of that? I mean, what do you think in that regard? Are people actually trusting him because of his knowledge in the space?
Okay, I think Gensler was celebrated as, we might get a change from Jay Clayton. So everyone was like, oh, it's a guy that knows blockchain. This will be much better. And it turned out to be worse.
Yeah.
Congressmen and senators will tell you they spend most of their time raising money, which means they spend most of the time with the people who write the checks. And whoever has captured the SEC has said, good, we have a guy who knows blockchain. You're going to emphasize the negatives, ignore the positives, right? Because people do get scammed. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in crypto that they wouldn't let go on in equities. We get it, right? But Gensler is ultimately taking orders from whoever's got capture of the SEC. The people who think he's great are captured by the same people. I guess that would be Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah. People signing the checks. All right, so let's talk about this market, dude. I don't know if you have any charts or anything you want to show, but and no pressure on that if you don't. But 5 major reversal indicators for crypto market in July: Goldman Sachs, ETH, S1 filings, and more. I'm actually not going to read this article. I just want to touch on a few things. So, number one, let's just rattle through these, and I will get your thoughts on these. Federal Reserve rate cuts. So there's been a lot of speculation about rate cuts, obviously, in September and December, which would obviously inject liquidity in the markets, which would benefit crypto. Do you think that what Patriot Caveman was saying, which I think originally maybe even was something that you were saying, do you still believe that we might indeed get a rate cut in July?
I think it's distinctly possible. I think you're going to need some sort of event that maybe rattles people in order to get that. Or like in 2007, there could be something lurking underneath the surface, and Powell gets a little bit proactive before whatever that event transpires.
Tries to get ahead of it.
Right. I think super core inflation is at 5%. So them keeping funds at 5%, mathematically makes sense. I just think the longer they wait, and they have said this, that if they wait too long to do it, it could be like too late. All right. So they're going to get
balancing act.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, and they're going to get blamed for all of this at both political conventions.
Yeah.
They could do themselves a favor with 25 basis points, but if they did that, I think they'd be admitting something was wrong. Right. I think that's how that would be perceived.
Yeah.
They should do it, but I can't say will they.
Right. Right. Well, I'm pushing for it, and just because it'd be fun, because he's been talking about it on here for months. All right, so let's talk about the ETH ETF progress, right? So they have received feedback from the SEC, which is obviously an indicator, I believe, of progress towards approval and potential, increased institutional investments coming in. The ETH ETF that's supposed to have started trading or talked about being, actually live trading in July. Do we see a major impact on the markets when that happens? Or is it kind of like how Bitcoin was and it kind of, jumps around and skips around or whatever? Do you think it'll be a huge impact or no?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge impact. I mean, first of all, the ETH ETF was sprung on the whole financial community because it was approved with the first round of applications.
Right.
That's never happened. So nobody had the time to load the boat on ETH. Second, they're going to be like offering people a technology alternative, a technology and monetary alternative at the same time where the 5 major tech stocks that have driven all the froth and frankly, a lot of the inflation in the economy are starting to roll over. So it's like, oh guys, you don't want to own these wildly overvalued stocks that are priced for perfection. Oh, look, here's Ethereum. Oh, wait, it's down a lot. Oh, equity investors love that, right? And it's down 15%. Oh yeah, give me that. Whereas in crypto, we're like, oh no, it's going lower. Equities are like, oh, for 15 years, like, oh, just buy every 15% dip.
Yeah, and you were talking about this, I think, kind of prior to the show a little bit. We touched on it about the top in the tech market, and I do think that that's important, right? They're so dominated with just like a few large tech stocks that the it's not like spread out, right? That's often a precursor to telling us, hey, we've got a top. The valuations, like you said, are highly overvalued, or at least most people believe that they are. And then obviously you've got a potential for rising interest rates and other economic challenges that are going to, impact these high growth tech stocks more significantly than they're going to do, to other companies. So what else is telling you that you're seeing kind of a top there, and how that plays into the good for the crypto space? So obviously you said, hey, alternatives. Is there anything else that you're seeing?
Well, yeah, there's the behavior of the retail herd, right? I mean, in equities, Stan Druckenmiller and hedge funds sold all their big tech stocks to retail because retail came into equities, and it's like, oh, look, a 10-for-1 stock split in NVIDIA. It's $100 stock now. It's super cheap. Let me get in because it's free money because it goes up every day. So how could I lose? This was 2000. It's the same thing. Right. It's like, I can't lose. Oh, okay. I don't want Bitcoin and crypto down 20%. That's not as much fun as, as up only. And then, of course, it's up only, until, the hedge funds just, you run into the hedge fund ceiling, right? And then, the minnows meet the whale. Yeah. And they just all get, they all get wiped out. In other words, if retail puked out of tech stocks in mass, that alone could probably create a 10 to 15% drop because, hedge funds are going to be coming in pressing shorts. Right? Meanwhile, again, as always, no one has any interest in Bitcoin. Like, there is no more Bitcoin. And then I don't want to touch it. NVIDIA at a $3 trillion valuation is much more attractive.
Yeah.
It's classic.
Yeah. And it's just telling you all over the place, hey, we're reaching we're getting close to a top. We're getting close to a top. We're getting close to a top here. And then let's say that we do reach that top, or this is the top for the tech stocks, at least for a little while. Are people going to rotate then into a higher risk asset like Bitcoin, like Ethereum? Or you think the other things happening in the crypto space combined with that as an alternative makes it appealing?
I mean, I think it makes all the sense in the world for people with self-directed accounts and certain hedge funds and portfolio managers to just simply rotate to the crypto space. Like, normally a retail investor wouldn't have an ability to play a foreign exchange move like a materially lower dollar. Like, yes, they could buy gold and silver, which is still fine, right? But, to really get beta on a foreign exchange move, crypto is the way to do that. So that's new for them. Also, like I said, it's technology. It's like, oh, I'm going to go from one tech instrument to another. That's just how people think in equities. It's just like a sector rotation. Like, when tech stocks went down, small cap stocks that have been hammered and utility stocks that benefit from lower rates all went up. They love the rotation games in equities. Yeah. And then, if crypto ever turned into a freight train trend, well, I mean, equities investors are like, oh, well, I like dips, but my favorite is buy high, sell higher, right? Just jump on the Momo move.
Just keep it moving. Keep it pushing.
Just keep it moving, right? And, they're going to, again, everybody blew off the ETH ETF because Solana was going to come out with one. Well, you don't have that available probably until next year.
Yeah.
So, ETH benefits, like, did this in Patreon, like, at length.
Yeah.
Gold, silver, dollar. If those all go in the right direction, you could have ETH at 4,000.
Yeah.
Just like that.
And I was to say it would happen quick too. It would happen really quick. Yeah.
Right.
I'm looking forward to that.
It could actually happen. Like, if the stock market's going to go down, ETH could actually make the move first. A lot of people think everything has to go down and then crypto bottoms and goes up. I'm kind of wondering if crypto is going to catch everybody off guard and everyone's going to go, this is why you talk about DCA and HODL. I call it active portfolio management. My father called it just never get bearish. You can be defensive. You can hold some cash, but the problem with getting bearish and short, except if it's like a tactical day trade, the problem with getting bearish is, it's tough to say, oh yeah, the lows are in, because
Yeah.
the lows, I don't know. The definition of the lows is the point where there's no buyers and everyone's hesitant and everyone's like, oh God, it's going to go down. It's an absence of buyers.
Yeah.
So when you don't get bearish, you have more of an open mind to say, you know what? Kind of wondering what happens if everyone can't buy this lower.
Yeah.
It's just a question.
So you've got all these things happening in the space that suggest maybe a turnaround. Like I said, the Federal Reserve cuts, the ETH ETF. You've got CFTC regulation. I think they said something like 70 to 80% of cryptos are not securities, which is good. You've got Goldman Sachs tokenizing. They're planning on like launching 3 tokenization projects by the end of the year. That'll, you know, bring institutional interest. JP Morgan now has like this bullish on Bitcoin outlook, which, you know, who knows where the hell that came from. All of these things being good brings me to this question to kind of round out the show. Michael Anthony says, is Bitcoin going lower, or do you think the rebound is in? I would like to know your thoughts, and I'll tell you mine.
Okay. Well, I personally think that you only have a 30% chance of seeing sub 50, right? Sub 50 is a 30% chance. And the only reason you would see that is because equities would blow out. Right? If equities don't go lower immediately, you're not going to see sub 50. You're not. Right? And don't forget what ETH can do. So the answer is, I believe there's a 70% chance the lows are in.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And I, you know, 50, 54, 52, I have a theory that pushes it down to as low as 45 to 47 that I've talked about or whatever. But man, I don't personally see that happening, but I'm just speculating on that. I could definitely see, though, creeping back down towards that 54, 52, 51, 50. But I agree with Bill that I don't think we're going to see sub 50. If we do, it'll be something that I'll be buying. I can just tell you that I will buy some sub 50 Bitcoin for sure, because I think that it's an opportunity that we're going to look back on and ask ourselves, why don't we take that opportunity when we had it in the long term? So I don't know, long-term fam, bullish on crypto. Lots of things happening. Election coming up, hopefully administration change. At least I hope there's going to be an administration change. All of these things combined. You've got Donald Trump speaking at the Bitcoin conference. Hopefully that's good. That didn't bode well, I think, for when he spoke at like the Libertarian conference or something. But that's, you know, besides the point. I think that it's going to be very good for the Bitcoiners, for the crypto people, for it just to be in the news. Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. So we'll see which way the market reacts or what kind of games these larger institutional players play. But yeah, up and to the right, baby. Let's get it. Crypto fam, I love you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. If you're not following Bill Noble, make sure to check him out over on the tubes. Well, we're on the tubes. Check him out on the tubes. Check him out on the Patreon. Check him out on X. I've got all those links down below. We love you guys. Question everything. Trust nothing. And until next time, hodl like it's hot. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Bill.